Ever feel like you're drowning in a sea of marketing tools trying to keep your business running smoothly? What if you could simplify it all with one platform? That's where Go High Level comes in, your all-in-one sales and marketing solution built for small businesses like you. In fact, Go High Level has over 1 million users just like you. With Go High Level, you can capture leads, automate your prospect and client journeys, quickly and efficiently build stunning websites, sales pages, and sales funnels. Imagine managing your CRM, email, SMS, and funnels without duct taping a dozen tools together. Plus, their unlimited plan lets you add as many contacts and users as you need, no hidden fees. We've been using Go High Level for over a year now and absolutely love it. In fact, Profit First Nation is also powered by Go High Level. Ready to level up? Start your Profit First Nation extended 30-day free trial today at www.gohighlevel.com/Profit First Nation. That's www.gohighlevel.com/Profit First Nation. Streamline your workflow, impress your clients, and grow smarter, not harder.
Welcome to Profit First Nation, the official podcast for entrepreneurs who are operating their businesses in the zone of permanent profitability. I'm Mike Michalowicz, the author of Profit First, and now here is your Profit First Nation guide, Danielle Mulvey.
Welcome back to another episode of Profit First Nation, my entrepreneurial friends. So today is an episode ending in 4, which means that we go all in on episodes ending in 4 and 9. All In happens to be the title of Mike's next book that will come out in January 2024, titled All In, How Great Leaders Build Unstoppable Teams. And, Mike's books are an evolution for us, the entrepreneurs. And, if you have 10 or more employees, $1 million or more in real revenue, well, then guess what? Your largest expense is likely employees and your payroll. And so we know from Profit First that there's only 2 ways to increase profitability. Number 1, increase margin, and number 2, decrease expenses. So what we see is that businesses, especially with 10 or more employees, really sort of can lose sight of their profitability and just let profit walk out of the door in terms of entitled paychecks that 1, 2, and 3-star employees, average ho-hum or worse employees, are just collecting by default and not producing a return. So remember, what we need to do is that we need to have at least a 3x to 4x return on payroll. And that is what is super important. So today's episode is why and how to let employees go when that said employee is not producing that 3x to 4x return on payroll. All right, let's dive in. So there are 4 reasons of why you need to let an employee go. And reason number 1 is what we just talked about, is if they're not producing that 3x to 4x return on payroll. That means, let's put this into dollars and cents. If you've been paying someone, let's say they're a new hire and they're just kind of not getting it. You're 4 months in and you've paid them 4 months worth of salary. You're paying them, let's just say, $1,000 a week times 4 months. So you've paid them $16,000. But my guess is if they're not producing a 3x return, they're probably just not even breaking even on payroll. They might even just be producing 2 months worth of work in that 4 months that you've been paying them. So not only are you not producing a return on that payroll, you're going negative on that payroll. You're only getting 50% of the effort for the 100% that you're paying them. So, if you've got employees who are not producing that 3x to 4x return on payroll, that is reason number 1 why you have to let them go. Reason number 2 why you would need to let an employee go is because they annoy you. It's just, they drive you crazy. And whenever I talk about this topic, I just kind of shudder because I go back to that day 20 plus years ago in my first business. I had an employee named JP, and I woke up one Monday morning and said to myself, can I call in sick to my own company? Because I wanted to be fake sick so that I didn't have to deal with JP for another week. And that was my wake up call of, oh my gosh, are you serious? You want to call in fake sick to your own company because of an employee and you're the employer and the owner of the business? So that was my moment that I said, okay, I can't let this happen to me again. I've got to get real serious about hiring. So 20 plus years later, here we are, and I've really cracked the code on how to recruit, hire, and retain 5-star employees, thanks to JP, making me want to call in fake sick to work. So the issue with why, someone would annoy you is because, to be honest, they're not aligned with your core values. And if they're not aligned with your core values, then you're never going to really trust them. They're never going to really think and act like you need them to. And so that's why the 1-star and the 5-star employee rating system is alignment with core values, because when you have employees who are aligned with your true core values, they think and act like you, which is, what you want. That's how you can profitably scale your business. The number 3 reason why you would let an employee go is because they annoy your team. These people can be a little bit shady to a certain degree, and they're annoying your team behind your back. And so, everyone seems like they get along and everyone seems polite to each other, but it's really important to, if you get a little whiff of something that doesn't smell right, then you should do some investigation and really talk to your most trusted and valuable employees if there's some suspicion about an employee who might not be pulling their weight, who might be annoying the team, who might be acting differently to those team members behind your back. And, you don't want to jeopardize losing your best employees because you have one fake employee. So that is reason number 3, is if the team member is annoying your other team members. And reason number 4 to let someone go would be because they are annoying your customers. And, you always need to be checking and circling back with your customers, and, net promoter scores are great for that. But also too, I've seen in different scenarios where someone is kind of gaming the system and such, and maybe colluding with someone else to, double dip and work the system to their advantage and stuff. But it causes burden on the customer. Maybe the customer has to re-implement something twice, or, something was said that wasn't wholly true and such. And, those kind of people, that behavior, especially, singling out salespeople here, that behavior won't change. That's just part of how they do what they do. And those people need to go as well. So the 4 reasons why you need to let people go: they're not producing a 3x to 4x return on payroll. Number 2, they're annoying you. Number 3, they're annoying your team. And number 4, they're annoying your customers. So, all right, we realized they got to go for one of those 4 reasons. And so now comes the how. And I'm going to safely assume, based off of population, that 99.9% of you don't live in the state of Montana. So I'm talking to everyone except if you live in the state of Montana. That's my disclaimer. 99.9% of you who live in every other of the 49 states operate your businesses in a at-will state. And so an at-will state means that you can pull the plug at any time. It goes both ways. An employer can, in an at-will state, decide to terminate someone's employment at any time. And on the flip side, an employee can say, hey, you know what? This job's not for me. see you later, I'm out of here. And so, I like it to work both ways, because no one is beholden to you just because you give them a job. It needs to be a mutually beneficial relationship for, as long as it makes sense for both parties. And so really that's what being an at-will employer means in an at-will state. Now, it's funny that people think that you have to have all of these reasons to fire someone, and you have to put them through an arduous performance improvement plan, and you've got to give them multiple chances. I mean, some people say, oh, do I need to give them 6 months? And I'm like, oh my gosh, 6 months? Like, if someone can't change their behavior in 10 days, in 2 weeks, then it's really not going to happen. So what's important is that you understand, when you let an employee go, it's okay. If you have not had extenuous documentation for that, you can let them go for any reason, as long as it's not, violating some sort of relationship to discrimination or such, or an unfair bias. So if someone's not pulling their weight, if someone is habitually late to work, you don't have to have multiple meetings with them. You don't have to give them multiple chances and stuff. You can say, hey, I'm sorry, you've been late 2 days. This is your last day. And, good luck to you in your next job. When you do such thing and you fire someone at will, they can collect unemployment. And okay, no big deal if they're collecting unemployment. You don't need to go through an arduous performance plan and create all of these things to have documentation so that you can fight an unemployment claim. Because here's the truth. No matter what, you are always going to be paying into unemployment in your state. And the percentage that you pay is always going to be at least a minimum percentage. So you're paying in no matter what. If you never fire someone, you've just kept paying into the system. Now, if you make so many bad hires that you have so many unemployment claims, then that's when the state will look at your account and maybe raise your percentage that you're getting charged towards the unemployment insurance in your state. But for most of you, if you're making a nominal number of terminations in a year that are not voluntary, then no big deal. Like, just do it. Pull the plug. Say, I'm sorry, but today is your last day, and we wish you luck in your best job. You don't even really have to give them a reason. Which now let me transition into, how do you do this? So if you're in at-will state, and you decide, hey, I'm just kind of done with this, and I don't have time to, do a fake job performance improvement process with them. I'm just going to let them go on Friday. Then let me tell you how to do it, my friends, in less than 45 seconds. What you do is you remain standing, and the candidate should be standing as well too. And when you go up to them, you're just going to have a, kind of brief, quiet conversation, and you're going to start with this line. Hey, John, I just want to talk to you briefly and just let you know that this is an announcement, not a discussion. You have been late 5 times in the last 3 weeks, and we really just can't have that kind of behavior in this company. Everyone else is on time every day. So today is your last day, and we wish you the best in your new position. And because you're standing, you're, able to kind of gently guide them to their desk where they need to grab their items and guide them out the door. You don't want to be sitting, because this is going to come to a shock to anyone. And it's going to be a little bit of a punch in the gut too. And when you two are sitting, when you have basically 2 sentences to tell them that you're fired, you know, they're going to be shell shocked a bit, but then they're going to want to talk about it. And you are the last person in the world that can provide them any sort of consolation, comfort, or sympathy, or what they need in their life right now, because you've just sacked them. So by standing and doing this standing and kind of gently guiding them to get their stuff and get out of there, at this point, you could also have someone in the wings that, you know, removes you from the situation, and that person just kind of finishes observing them, getting their stuff and leaving. But you just want to get them out the door as quickly and as soon as possible so that they can move on with their life and they can go to their loved ones, their friends. They can, you know, hash this out with them and such. But no one in your organization is going to be able to make someone feel better about losing their job. So you just want to get them out the door as quickly as possible. Now, you know, do you have to provide a severance? You don't. Every state has different laws. You could say, tragically in California, which is one of the least employer-friendly states. So, you know, in my state, if I were to let someone go, I have to have their last check ready to hand them as I fire them. I also have to pay out any remaining balances in terms of vacation time, so or PTO. So something to be cognizant of. California, I think, is the extreme, but make sure that you understand the requirements of your state when you let someone go. You can offer a severance, and you know that is completely up to you. It's, you know, depends upon the situation stuff. Like, you know, I'd give some thought to, okay, like how long should it take them to land on their feet again and find another job, and maybe give them some cushion for that time, because, you know, to a certain degree, you made a mishire. And so you might want to, at least, you know, for some conscious sake, provide some sort of severance to them to just move on. So after they are gone and out the door, that is when you sit down and collect your thoughts, and you do what I like to refer to as a post-mortem. And this is when you're going to look at maybe the clues or the flags or the gut kind of things that you felt during the interview process, so that you don't make the same mistake again with hiring someone else. In hiring, this is an iterative process. In recruiting and hiring, we're going to get better and better and better. And, you know, every success and every failure leaves clues that gives us opportunities to improve upon our processes, our systems, and the way that we go about things. So, for example, you're going to want to look at, you know, where did they come from? Was it a certain kind of employer, or was it a certain school that, you know, maybe just kind of hasn't proven to be a great track record for you? So, for example, there is a community college near, or actually it's a 4-year school that was local to one of our offices in Indianapolis. And, you know, 12 years ago, when we were new to the market and such, we had made some hires. And when we opened that office, you know, we hired like 16 people to start and such. And there were a handful from this one school. Well, they didn't work out. And after we let them go, we looked at it and we kind of said, oh my goodness, interesting. They're all from, I won't name the school, but and from that point forward, you know, when we would have applicants, and even if they scored 70% or higher on our assessment, if they came from that school on their resume, that was a red flag to us for that position in that market, and we wouldn't move them forward in our process. So, you know, like, make some considerations about, like, what is their background, where did they come from, and what are things that you maybe want to avoid. I was talking to one of our members in the All-In program a couple weeks ago, and she had let someone go, and her kind of beef with that person had no sense of urgency. And so when we peeled back the layers, the person looked really great on paper, passed the assessment, passed the skills testing, etc. But it was kind of funny that she had never experienced in the 10 plus years she's had this business of ever hiring someone in the bookkeeping industry that didn't have urgency or a sense of urgency. And the interesting thing is that this individual, her prior experience or her prior role was, I don't know, I forget how many years, but several years as a college professor. And, we kind of it was like an aha and a ding, ding, ding at the same time, because then Cindy thought, oh my gosh, I had someone who was like an adjunct instructor at a college several years ago, and that person didn't really work out well either. So we kind of looked at, well, why would that be? And, professors and adjunct instructors at the collegiate level, they don't really have to have a sense of urgency. I mean, they're showing up for classes a few times a week. They're doing a few office hours. There's nothing that is demanding that they grade papers and return test scores in a timely manner, let alone right away and such. And I mean, come on, let's be honest. Let's think back to our college professors, and were they a little, on the slower side and taking it easy and such? So now Cindy has a red flag that if, someone is coming as their experience, yeah, they totally know the subject. They're teaching it. So you would think, oh my gosh, that's the best kind of candidate, someone who can teach it. But, again, the environment that they've worked in just doesn't match the pace that Cindy needs and the expectations of her clients. So those are kind of ways to look at things. Where was the education, and then where was their prior experience? Where did they work previously? And then I just want to say, when you're looking at someone's resume, it can be hard, which is why we say, do that assessment first. The All-In assessment allows you to score candidates against the benchmark for the role. And so you're really kind of able to see, do they have, the aptitudes and the potential to be successful in this role? But, I like candidates who have, and it might not be on a resume, but it's a great thing to kind of ask in the interview process. If someone is in their 40s, they're not necessarily going to have their jobs in high school or college on their resume, but I always like to ask that, even if it's not on the resume. What did you do? When did you start working in high school? What was that job? What did you do in college? What did you do in between for a job in the summers when you were in college and such? And what I'm looking for here is someone who worked in hospitality, food service, maybe someone who, worked on a landscaping crew or worked outside, someone who is used to fast pace, used to being busy, and used to physical labor. I mean, if you're working in the food service industry or, in some sort of outdoor capacity on a landscape crew or a mover, there's lots of, college movers and college painters out there and such who do that kind of work during the summer. That tells me that someone, no job is beneath them. They know how to grind, they know how to get it done, and they're not going to cry about it. They didn't take the easy job that is sitting at a desk doing nothing. And hospitality is great too, because people in hospitality just really know how to take care of people. They have a serving mindset. And whether this person would be customer or client facing or not, people with a hospitality background and a training to serve others are either serving your employees or serving their fellow employees. So that is a quick tip there. Then, as again, part of your post-mortem, you're going to want to look back at your interview notes. Yep. You are. So, when you do your interviews, you should be pulling your 11 qualities interview packet, and you should be pulling your aptitudes and skills deep dive interview packet, and going through those questions and looking at, were there any flags with this candidate? And then, are there any questions that you can add into the situation? So even though in the example of Cindy that we identified that probably college professors or adjunct instructors are not for her, even though she's never really had to test for urgency before, she has included now some new questions in her interview packets and her screeners that will give her, some idea to be able to assess someone's urgency. So, that's checked off the list. And that, my friends, is, we learn best sometimes from our mistakes. Sometimes we have to touch the stove to believe it's hot. And the same thing when we make hires. Most businesses are about 25% successful. So that means only 1 out of 4 hires is a 5-star employee. That means 3 out of 4 hires are considered mishires. When you're following the 5-star employee rating system and you're going all in and really having a good, solid gauntlet process and system associated with your recruitment and hiring, you should have a 90% success rate. People are human. That's why I don't think it can get to 100%. And then there's always that opportunity for improvement with your post-mortem exercise. So really, I was thinking, this morning that going all in, on your recruitment and hiring and retention of 5-star employees is something that you should just have into practice every day. It's not something that, you want to keep your head in the sand about and such. So if you're looking for some more support, some more ideas, then check out the allincompany.com. And exciting news, you can pre-order All In on Amazon now. That book, Mike's next book coming out in January 2024, is available for pre-order on Amazon. And we've got some exciting program, Mike and I, over the next several months. And we look forward to helping you be a great leader and build an unstoppable team. Cheers to another profitable day, my entrepreneurial friends.
Thanks for tuning in to the Profit First Nation podcast. We hope you found today's episode valuable and that it's inspired you to take action towards achieving permanent profitability in your business. If you want to learn more about how to implement Profit First in your business and connect with a community of like-minded entrepreneurs, be sure to visit us at profitfirstnation.com to download our how-to guides and resources. Remember, permanent profitability is within your reach, and we're here to support you every step of the way. So let's do Profit First right together.
Profit First Nation website, related podcasts, and videos are provided for general information purposes only and do not constitute accounting, legal, tax, or other professional advice. Visitors should not act upon the content or information found here without first seeking appropriate advice from an accountant, financial planner, lawyer, or other professional.
Hey, this is Ro. And if you're a business owner struggling with hiring or just tired of doing it yourself, I highly recommend the Build Your Dream Team Secret Podcast series. There are 7 episodes packed with real stories from founders who've cracked the code on hiring, built high-performing teams, and finally got out of the day-to-day grind. My favorite part? It's not fluff. It's systems, strategy, and results. Text DREAM to 55444. That's DREAM to 55444 to check it out. You'll thank me later.